All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our October edition of the Channel Marketing Academy. This week, we are talking about niche industry marketing, what works, what doesn't, and what should we avoid. And we're going to be asking our three panelists today for their expertise on the subject. But before I get into all of that, just a couple of housekeeping things. A big thank you to our CMA founders, the ERP and CRM software group, as well as the partner marketing group for keeping our lights on here, keeping this available and free for all of you every month. So that being said, thank you again. And I'm going to pre-thank everyone for asking questions. I know I say this every month, but it's just a friendly reminder. You're more than welcome to ask questions in the chat or, be a little cray-cray, come off mute and ask the question live. We are here for all of that, and we want to make sure we're answering your questions and that it stays interesting for you. And then Anya and Michelle are going to be monitoring the chat because, sometimes doing two things at the once is hard for me. So if you don't hear me ask the question, they will pipe in or they will know that we'll get into the question after and they will mention it. So I'm not ignoring you on purpose, I promise. So that being said, let's get into our topic of the day. This topic is near and dear to my heart. Yes, I say that pretty much every month, but I really mean it this time because I come from the world of ISV and VARs where we have a very vertical focus. So I understand and agree, and I will probably be slightly too enthusiastic at some moments during this chat. So just bear with me, but I'm a big believer that this is where our industry and our market is going. So I can't wait to hear what Sierra, Jacob, and Lauren have to say about the topic. So without further ado, I will let you guys introduce yourselves. Lauren, why don't we start with you?
Hi, I'm Lauren Debisschop. I'm the content marketing manager at Greenshades. I've been there a little over 3 years now, kind of working on and revamping their content strategy as well as their website strategy. And a big focus for us as a payroll and HR provider is both our integrations and also our industries. And lately, we've been trying to figure out and do our best working into different industries and focusing on those verticals. So happy to be here to talk about that today.
Yeah, and can't wait to hear what you have learned and everything that you have been revamping from that side of it. Jacob, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. My name is Jacob Pepper. I'm the partner marketing manager here at Fidesic. We are an accounts payable automation firm. We work in GP and BC, and as a partner marketing manager, I lead the go-to-market strategy through our partner ecosystem, collaborating with VARs, ISVs, and just so forth. And then, yeah, related to this topic, we also really focus on our integrations in our industry. So super excited to chat about that today. So.
Awesome. Can't wait to hear about it. And last but definitely not least, Sierra, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and your company?
Yeah, so I am Sierra Forsberg. I am the industry marketing manager at Western Computer. I have been there for going on 5 years now. Some of the industries we're currently going after, which this has been a great conversation that I'm excited to be part of because these can be particularly niche. We've got wine and spirits, the food and beverage industry, which are both incredibly unique, on top of just your run-of-the-mill manufacturing and distribution. A little bit about me before I was in the ERP space. I was actually in entertainment PR and sports communications. So you could say I've been in a lot of abnormal industries.
Well, welcome to the chat today. I'm sure your experience in past lives is probably very relevant as well. So can't wait to hear about everything. So now let's jump right into it. First question is, what's your first step to take when trying to understand a specific industry's ecosystem and pain points? If someone's jumping into this for the first time, where do you think they should start? Sierra, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, I think where you should really try to start is with resources that you really trust. Associations that are familiar in that industry, different publications. You want to be aware of what kind of talking points are coming up, what issues churn quickly. But I think that what is a really interesting way to approach this is that people can be very vocal about the things that they are most unhappy with or struggle the most with, and that's what you want to stay keyed in on. So don't shy away from the hard truths that are on community forums, maybe Reddit, social media groups. That's really content that you can lean into to get yourself familiar with those industries and problems that hopefully you can solve. But at the end of the day, I think you really want to have a circle that you trust and you can go back to strategically. And that's where we choose to rely on our subject matter experts and trust their insight.
I think that's so true. Like people love to complain, and that's the first thing they're going to search for on the internet. So it's great that when we're thinking about content and where to start, like start with the pain point. And we know this in marketing, but I think it's important to know that in niche marketing, it's even more so because that's where you can really stand out on saying keywords. So great points there. What about you, Jacob? Do you have anything else
Yeah,
to add there?
absolutely. So, just to kind of go off of that, just credible industry sources that you trust. To like a lot of accountants online, they'll use like Reddit, for example. So it's just like finding just like random forums of just people talking, or just also just for like first steps to just like looking at who your customers are and just talking with them and like finding out what their specific pain points are and like, chatting with their partners as well. So I would also say too, if there is like a big like convention or conference that like everyone in the industry goes to, that's like a good target for you. It's just like maybe don't sponsor, but just go and attend the conference and just see what you can learn and just like talk with people. So just get in front of people in the industry, just find credible sources that you like their partners and just try to understand their like pain points. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that that's an important part. When before we got online here, we were talking about all the events, and there's so many new ones coming up all the time, and sending people your entire crew and marketing staff to every event can get costly quickly. So it's a good reminder that sometimes just a little bit of FaceTime and just hearing what people have to say, and those advanced networking hours can come into play in situations like this, because it really does come back to making sure that they know that your name and understand their industry. And how do you guys validate if your messaging truly resonates with the audience? Is there certain benchmarks or testing, or who's your sounding board when you're looking at does this make sense or not? Lauren, why don't you let us know what you do?
Yeah, so specifically from a content perspective, running A/B tests on what I've created is a big one that we've done, especially with emails. We've found that small tweaks don't really make a big difference, but if you really try something totally different in your two versions, you can really see the impact and what people are clicking on and how they're interacting with the email. And so, even though that's not always the purpose of A/B, we've sometimes done it that way just to see like if we totally twist this message around, will the audience like this better? We've had a lot of success just sort of honing in on how we say things, even if our messaging intent stays pretty high level.
That is great to hear because maybe I'm on the old school marketing side where we learned that you only tweak a little bit so you can like really do this. But it's true nowadays where you have only 2, 3 seconds before someone decides to flip, delete, or anything. You need to have that stark difference because no one's going to really notice if you said the or than in a spot, or you have your subject being a little different. So I like that a lot to take those risks and to try it, and it's a great hint for everyone here today. So thank you for that. Jacob, what about you? How do you
Yeah,
test?
absolutely. So we do a few different like LinkedIn ad campaigns for just our different verticals. So it's just like measuring just like cost per click and just like if those actually can convert just like down the line. So we can see that like, oh, if they just had an impression, if they like schedule a meeting from that. So it's just about like we try to do it just through like intent and like lead tracking, but also I think that like the in-person aspect of it, it's just like what are your partners like saying about you? So it's just like if that is your messaging like in person at events, it's just like when people think of your brand or like think of you and like what you do is that like the message that like they're repeating it and like telling people as well, and then especially just in like different industries. So if you like have like a specific client, like if they're talking to other people in the industry about that, it's just like if that like messaging is like actually converting in person. So
Yeah. No, that I think we forget sometimes. We look at the big picture, we look at the top line, and then that we really have to start looking at it from a segmented positioning as well, because maybe our brand in a certain industry resonates well, but another one it doesn't. So having those kind of micro segments that you can go back and look at and see who's tracking where is a good reminder to everyone that we 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 need to look holistically, but at the same time we need to be in tuned on what our different industries have to say and maybe double down on them, but that's more for later. Um, so what kind of content has proven to be the most effective in building the trust within these communities? There's so much out there now. Content, we say that word uh, probably every day. So, Sierra, what are some of the top ones that you would focus on if you were new to this world, or if you're
Yeah,
not and you just need some insight?
yeah. So we've seen the most impact from our organic thought leadership content, preferably if it was posted by our subject matter experts. That definitely seems to carry a lot more weight than something from our business page. They like to see from real people posting content that are experienced in the community. But also, if you want to become like a familiar voice in a new space, in a new industry, you have to learn to speak the language. You have to learn to be able to answer their questions with real answers, not just jargon. And I really lean into that how-to styled content. And we've done some audits on our content, on our webinars, and anything that starts with the how-to that really pertains to one industry seems to captivate an audience and get engagement. And that's because people are wanting things that they can have key takeaways from. I think at the end of the day, testimonials are really where the magic is at.
Mm.
The more niche industries have more unique problems, and then they always kind of turn towards each other in their communities. So if you have that social proof, it's going to speak to your credibility, and it's just going to resound a little bit more than educational content.
I think you said the keys to everything, and then I think everyone's like, having a subject matter expert is so important, and like having a testimonial is so important. Well, we might dive deeper into those things later because those are key points to it, but kind of hard to know where to start and all that. But yeah, having that, if you have a subject matter expert internally or someone who speaks the jargon, but in a way that isn't just
It's
spewing words
natural.
out into it, it's natural, I think is worth its weight in gold. Um, what about you, Lauren? Any other ways that you have built the trust in your community?
Yeah, the biggest one for us has been email, only because we just positioned Greenshades as the expert. We have some subject matter experts, but they're in payroll and HR and tax, not industry experts. So
Mm.
instead, I create content, mainly blogs that go on the website, and I can tailor different versions to different industries. But then the email is how I deliver it. And as long as I position it the right way, like we are the experts in our solution, but we understand your industry, click here, we'll prove it. We've seen a lot of interaction with that, especially consistently delivering just one thoughtful educational piece to people like consistently. Um, we've seen a lot of good stuff with that.
I think that's super reassuring because if like the people listening today that I don't have a subject matter expert, what am I supposed to do? At least you're being like, it's okay as long as you tailor it and you get it out there. And I think that's the key message that we're going to hear all throughout the day is you have to tweak it. It cannot be generic when you're talking to industry experts, or else they're going to snuff you out pretty quickly. And the other nugget that I think that we forget too sometimes is one piece of good material and content. We're so used to like pumping out information and stuff all the time. In our last book club, we talked about that. Like we just, we're constantly creating new stuff, but maybe just having one thing and distributing it correctly and is the name of the game. So for those listening, um, be more mindful on that side of it, and read the book that we had up for last time. So thank you for that, Lauren. So now, how do we do this without alienating other industries? So if you're talking a lot about one industry, how do you balance this between time, resources, and space on your website? So Jacob, how have you successfully done that at your company?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think just to like just speaking to the successes just in each industry and just like using them as like testimonials, not like exclusions. So it's like, oh, because we were helpful in like one industry doesn't necessarily mean that like we wouldn't be in the other. So, for example, for like our like healthcare clients, like we have like healthcare case studies that like talk about like the workflow. Or for like our like moving clients, it's about like multi-location. So it's just highlighting just different features for different industries and just making sure that like just like using the correct jargon and just having those lists like segmented so it's not all the same message like going out to the same people. So it's just I would say that just yeah, a lot of our industries like work well together too. So they're just a lot of like service companies. So they don't like necessarily compete against each other like per se like how verticals do, but it's just yeah. So I would say that like for our industry messaging, it's just about like tweaking it like based off of like feature for like different like industry and just like how we help them specifically. And then just also just talking to our customers too. It's just like, oh, like in healthcare, it's like, so like what do we do good at? And then like in nonprofits, it's like what do we do good at? And just like trying to highlight those customer stories as well.
No, that's good. And yeah, I think you have to spread the love too, because I don't know if any of you have lived this in the past, but I've gotten pushback in the past. They're like, oh, but what about engineers? Or oh, what about architects? And you're like, well, if you're saying something generic, you're not talking to anyone. So being able to have those key targets for everyone and like not like you have them, but you have like we're good for everybody. It's important to find that fine balance between the two because yeah, some people out there like, no, but we have three clients in this industry. So you really have to be choosy and stick to your guns, and maybe you have to let them to listen to this podcast after or web, webcast afterwards to better understand that. So thanks for
Yeah, one
that.
thing I would add to what you just said too, is just remember that you're the expert in what your product or your solution does, what you're providing. So you can tailor your message to your industries if you're able to, and if that's your goal. But those outskirts, they will resonate with your main differentiators, and you can't lose sight of that.
Good point. I know. I think that's a fabulous comeback to it is making sure that you can tailor, but I is who I is, and where you stand out, and not to lose sight of that when trying to build out these niches as well. So, um, thanks for that one. And then, what are some of the key factors that help you decide between launching a microsite versus a standalone website? This comes back to the amount of space on your website, or without alienating other industries. Do you have examples of what worked, what didn't? Um, let's get into the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to this. So, Lauren, how about you kick us off?
Yeah, the biggest thing is one for that industry, um, how tailored, how important is it to tailor the message so specifically that you feel they need an experience of their own versus that tailored messaging can be mixed in with some of your other value props. So that's one. And then the second one, that's a big one for me, is how much content do you have for that industry to support that microsite or standalone website? If you don't have enough meat on the bone, then that standalone website's just it's not going to feel like enough. Versus if you launch just a small microsite where you have tailored messaging on one page, but you can just sort of direct them to the appropriate pages on your site. I think that it has enough impact while also basically saying like we don't quite have enough to deliver yet, but one day we will.
No, and I think perception is key too. Yeah, you're like, oh, we built out this flashy thing, but there's only two things on it. Is the juice really worth the squeeze, or is it sending the wrong message in the end that you're like, oh, maybe they aren't special as much of a specialist as we thought. And going back to your key value props, I think we will get people to do a bit of a switch of their mind on that side of it. So, oh no, the great nuggets coming out today. And oh, we have a question that came in. So, how many verticals are too many? I think that's a good question also. Some might say two, but in your experience, how many verticals do you think is too many to kind of separate off? Or how many do you guys focus on internally? Do you guys have a key number there?
That's a good
Well,
question.
I would
well,
say
have a
that
think.
I don't.
probably like three, like really
Okay.
like focused, but then like other people who we like help too, but it's like they're all kind of like generally like service organizations. So there's a common theme, I guess.
No, but that's good. And yeah, like keep thinking if it comes up later, we can put in the chat or we can write out to the person later. So Sierra, what about you? When do you have three microsites or when do you make the difference? Because you were talking a bit about wine and manufacturing. I don't think the two should be done together. So how do you figure that one out?
Yeah, I really liked what Lauren said about like what requires an experience of its own. So, the first thing that comes in my mind is that very distinct terminology. The wine and spirits industry has a lot of very unique terminology versus manufacturing sometimes overlaps with distribution. Sometimes that means we can talk to food and beverage distributors, but we can't talk to wine and spirits distributors. So it's kind of playing that like word game of what needs its own call out versus what can kind of lean back into our values and our terminology as a whole. Um, for example, again, as wine and spirits, that one comes up, I think, a lot because it is very niche. It has two subverticals right now of its own. And so we have a breakout individual site for our wine and spirits IP product. But within that site, there's a suppliers and a distributors category. Sometimes we debate if suppliers is the right word or producers. And so that website allows us to kind of play with our terminology in that industry exclusively. But it does get a lot more complex when you start breaking out those individual sites. And again, like Lauren said, having enough content to support it is one obstacle. Do you have the bandwidth to maintain a whole secondary website? Now you're in other industries. So it's definitely a delicate balancing act.
Oh no, for sure. And I think that's really it. Like you really have to think about, okay, are we going to get everything out of it? And it comes back to marketing 101. What is our ROI by doing all of this? Because it is double the work sometimes when you think about it. Or someone's like, oh, it's just a little microsite. You're like, yeah. However, it's not. Like I think when you Lauren, when you said like all the different content and you start breaking it out that way, you realize that you need a lot more to stay credible. So I like that experience side of it. Um, and so, and you know what, microsites can be scary. Anya, we can talk you through it if ever you need help with that. And this is the about the time when I go to a short commercial break where I thank all of our CMA patrons for their sponsorship and helping us with keeping our lights on here. And a special welcome to our latest patron, Doug, who joined us last month. And then a continued thank you and support from OMSI, UST Pay, Vicinity, Partner Talks, MSCW, and Marketeeri for the continued support. So If you want to keep enjoying these chats free every month, please reach out, and maybe you want to sponsor. Think of it as like one of these chats is the equivalent of a sponsorship package with us, and you get to enjoy them all year long. So that was my shameless plug. So go visit our website if you need any more details there. And thanks again to all of our patrons. And now back to our regularly scheduled program. And we're going to keep going forward with the question of how do you maintain brand consistency while adapting your message across different verticals? We touched upon it before, but let's go a little deeper into it now. So, Jacob, what are you guys doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So, maintaining brand consistency across different verticals, we really just in the specific vertical, it's just like what we do well in and like how we help those customers specifically, and just focusing on that message and then trying to get like that message in like that. Just but then also just like still that it's just like oh like if you're on the specific ERP, like we help. So it's just we try to focus just for people just on that ERP, just in that vertical and. So yeah, it just we try to just like focus on just what we're like good at in like each one. So we have like our like mover so we have like a lot of help a lot of mover clients and like we focus on just like the multi-location aspect of it and just trying to just get like just making sure that like we are like speaking to like their specific pain points and just like what's going on in their industry and just trying to just like highlight just whatever like yeah, just like their like pain points and target that like in the message. So
All right, good. And Lauren, what about you? You've started by saying like keep your course the similar. So let's hear a little more thoughts around that.
Yeah, I think the key message is you just don't forget who you are when you're trying to tailor your messaging towards someone else. And so it's what are your main differentiators? What are the differentiators that you see in this industry? How can you connect them, not replace them? I think is the key. And so that's really what we focus on. We kind of start top down when we're looking at an industry. Who are we? Who are they? How does that mix?
Very cool. And do you do you keep your brand like is who I is and then just kind of tweak the messaging, or in do you have any cases where one side is green and the other side is pink and we have totally different looks and feels for things, or do you try to keep it pretty middle of the road for both and kind of just tailor the message? Well, not just tailor the messaging, but adapt it that way.
Very good.
Mm.
In terms of visuals, actually, Greenshades is Greenshades. It's not tailored towards any industry. Um, that's just is what it is. It's the messaging that we put across those visuals that we adjust. Since I'm also the designer, sometimes I try to keep it consistent when we have certain campaigns going. So if one campaign to the staffing industry is blue that month, it'll stay blue. Maybe the industry is green, but that no matter what, those colors still roll up into our top brand. Um, Again, maintaining that whole Greenshades is who Greenshades is. Just making sure that they know we know who they are as well. That is the key.
Anybody else? Have you guys gone cray cray with it, or are you guys kind of staying with the I is who I is and just tweaking messaging?
yeah, very similar. We've just like kept it just like similar colors, just like it's like the Fidesic like branding is just that, but then it's just the messaging is just what's different. So
Good. So at least a little less work. But maybe one day someone will throw a whole pink site out there, and I would be all about that. So stay tuned. Uh, Moving on to our next question is, how do you balance channel events with industry events and with your marketing team? We touched upon it a little bit before about having to cut ourselves into eight to get to all of these things. How do you decide who goes when, where, and how, or is this just math doing math thing or ROIing? Jacob, how do you guys look at doing that
Yeah,
internally?
absolutely. So, just from the ISV perspective, like we're a smaller ISV, so our channel team who attends events are usually about like 3 to 6 people. So it's really not like a whole like big team or just like so it's not like a larger scale, I guess. But we kind of see channel events and industry events as like complementary. So it's just like channel events like directions or like summit like will like give us reach across like VARs and like other ISVs and like will get us connected to like partners in the channel. But then when we go to specific industry events, like we went to EWS Mover Speak Conference, which is just like an integration we have with GP for our mover clients, and then we went to an ADSO conference, which is just like for dental service or organizations. That one was more of just like to like learn it and also just to like get a feel of just like who's there, just like what ERPs they're using. So we kind of see them as like complementary just because they feed like the same pipeline of like, oh, like are we like getting new partners? Are we like bringing in like new customers? Like are we finding like end users and just learning more about like how we can tweak our messaging in like different industries and just like and then like we were like talking about earlier, just if there is an industry event where it's just like you're not necessarily sure if there is like an ROI or like if there is to like send a team just to like maybe send like one person just to like meet and network and like go find people. So we kind of see them as just like complementary, but I'm not sure if that's just because we're a smaller team and just like it's the same people attacking the same events, but it's just I'm sure like larger teams with like more robust things have it like broken out differently. But yeah, that's how we do it at Fidesic. So
Yeah, I think most of the people in our audience are scrappy, um, lean marketing teams. So I'm sure we're mostly with you on the small teams and becoming road warriors, but at one point wanting more than ketchup in our fridge. So
yes.
yeah, I think those are all good points. And then what advice would you have? You guys gave a lot of good advice already, but what advice would you have when you're trying to build a new industry? For us, it might sound scary. We talked about microsites, we talked about all this extra content, but where would you start if this is your first time maybe gonna dip the toe in the proverbial niche marketing ocean? So, Sierra, what do you recommend for some of the others?
Yeah, I would pony off of what Jacob just said, and I'd go to some events. Especially if you're considering it and it's a new industry, there's a lot to learn. What conversations are being had, what are key players, what are new partners to work with, and just putting a face to a name is invaluable. People sell to people, and people work with people, and so being able to put a physical person out there that kind of represents your business is really great. And on top of that, being able to befriend people in the industry, we've got ISVs and partners and making friends, especially with people who've already maybe tested those waters in a niche industry is something that, you can kind of skip out on some of your own pain if you learn from other people. And then something I just also try to keep in mind and I would recommend is you kind of have to give to get. And so when you're starting in a new industry, there's only so many opportunities for those really quick wins. So what are you bringing to the table and what conversations are you having and being willing to be involved in for people to then give you feedback and make it a win-win situation.
Give before you grab. I heard that earlier this year, and that has become my mantra. So I think that is such a good reminder that that's one of the big points of being in a niche market is that you have that expertise and don't scrooge it away and share it. And now everyone on the call today is going to be your bestie, so you might have to share other nuggets with other people. And I think that's what's so great about our community and ecosystem too, is that we are an all boats float kind of group, and we're willing to share the stuff that maybe some other industries are less likely to do it. So yeah,
The the bigger network you have and the faster you make friends, I think the better you grow.
yeah, making friends, like when you're 5 or 25 or 45, it's never too late to start. So, no, that's great. And what about you, Jacob? What advice would you give to people dipping their toe into this new
Yeah,
niche market?
absolutely. I would very much just piggyback off of just like the give not grab and they're not necessarily being just like quick wins as like soon as you enter an industry. So like let's just say like you have like one or two customers who like you help really well and you think, oh like I want to like do more in like your industry and just like find like more customers who like I can have a similar pain point who I can help. But it's just like it just starting at just like I'm going to events, it's just like you're not gonna be like the oh like the top dog in the industry. So it's just finding that just like oh like are there like partners who like already have like credibility who I can like co-market alongside of them and just like build my like network and then also just like for your one or two customers just like highlight them in like case studies and testimonials and like show yourself as like okay like we are this niche industry like product expert who like can like help in this way. So I would say just like yeah just start small, just like attend different events and then even I know that this is an integration, not like an in industry, but it was when we were entering the BC channel. It was just like, oh, like we have this like new product. It's like we were a GP firm for a long time. It was, oh, like we have to like go to all these Microsoft events and like start networking and like build up our channel presence because it's just like people they sell through a partner network. So if they don't know, like if you don't have credibility with the people who they know and like to do business with, it's just that's not really it doesn't really matter like how good you are at helping them or just like what stories you have. So it's just like yeah, just like being in the room where it happens and just finding the right people and just finding a way to get to that room if your company will let you. So,
Be in that room and make friends with people in that room. I think
yes.
that's a great way of looking at it. And such sometimes we focus really much on industry marketing today, but you're totally right, Jacob. Like when we're talking niche marketing, it could be by product as well. So we don't we're focusing on that today, but focusing on a GP versus BC is not the same thing either. So I'm sure there's a lot of VARs and ISVs out there listening who are living that switch or learning how to make friends in a new group and environment. So yeah, it doesn't have to just be on the industry side. It can be on the software new product side as well, because same, just different messaging. So just know who you are and what those core values are, and all the you too shall find your path. So we blew through these questions today, so we're already in our last one. So please, people, think of your questions because I'm going to come to you if you want to make full use of your hour. We are going to need your help. Or if someone else wants to add something at the end, by all means, sharing is caring. So for the last question, I always like to ask a trends question on where you see your crystal ball moving forward. So um, where do you see this type of marketing strategy going? Where do you see the evolution of niche marketing, either from an industry or we can go with a product as well, if you have something to add on that as well. Sierra, what does your crystal ball say?
Yeah. So something that we're kind of seeing is that in these niche spaces, a sense of authority is coming from crowd
Mm,
verification. And it's really making that customer testimonial even more important. Buyers are going to be risk avoidant. They're already starting to ask around, what are other people in my community doing? Who do they trust? And a phrase I just learned was instead of pushing megaphones, we should be leaning into microscopes and looking into smaller channels to see where we can kind of inject that verification. They're looking for proof where they've already seen it come up, and that's in some really atypical channels. And so my hot take is we're already kind of seeing this in discovery engines. You've got AI systems that are referencing Reddit. You've got Google that is putting TikTok at the top of their search engine. I think that those atypical platforms are going to become more and more popular and helpful. And a lot of B2B, companies aren't really leaning into that. And I think we would benefit from it a lot. They're really rewarding like specific expert level insights. And I think if your message is going to resonate there, it's going to carry yourself a lot further in a niche market.
mm, super, like I can't believe we went 41 minutes without mentioning AI, and here we are. So I'm
Last
glad you brought it
question.
in brought it in right at the buzzer. But it's true, like we've gone so much in one direction with automating And now we're really moving back with AI into the, okay, that's great. You can generate what or say whatever you want, but I need some social proof. So we're moving back to the, okay, who's the real person behind? And Reddit is a wild, wild west. So that is a whole other ball of wax, but I think important for us to be aware of, because that's where you see the true colors of people, and a lot of people believe what's out there too, especially in those types of sources. So I guess
We've
I
heard it
need to.
We've
You've
heard
heard
it get
it. Yeah.
brought up, and I would say the past 3 weeks I've heard it brought up 4 different times, in connection with AI, because you've got ChatGPT and Copilot that have referenced AI in their sources, and so if it's a market we haven't leaned into, why not explore it a little bit more?
I think we have a new channel topic for 2026. And I guess also for TikTok, I need to stop looking at cute puppy videos and change my algorithm a bit for more ERP noteworthy stuff. Um, and Jacob, why don't you take us home? What does your crystal ball say for trends moving forward?
Yeah, absolutely. So, trends that I'm seeing is just like from my angle, just like a shift towards like more like partner-led content and like storytelling. So it's just like back to that point of just like people want like the like who are my industry peers working with? It's just like, do I have that credibility, and also just like having that just like to be able to like show up on just like LLM models. So like if people are researching chat GTP, or if they're like doing it, just like being able to like have your just like expertise in that niche industry just like show up through like a case study, or just through like different things just on that. But I would say yeah, just I agree with a lot of that, and I would just say that just like personalization just becoming more important than ever, but we've known that. So it's just like, and then it's just yeah, all of that just with it. Yeah, so I don't know if I have much to add, but
No, 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 that's good. That's good. And I, it's normal that we get to this time and we're like, I've kind of already said that, because you all have touched on so many different points, and kind of the common thread comes back to I is who I is, and I want to make sure that there's someone real on the other side. So thank you for all of that. And we did have a question come in from Mike. We touched upon it a little bit, but I think we can go deep dive a little further on this. Is uh, do you find a sort of minimum viable level of relevant content, or that you need to get started? Is there kind of a baseline? We talked a bit about before not having just one fluency document on a microsite, but do you have a benchmark of, if we don't have this, it's going to look a little light? Do any of you have a baseline that you guys follow, or have something to recommend?
I don't know if I have a specific I could
That's cool.
provide, but I would say think about your approach in talking to that industry, or what your angle is going to be, and how long you can talk to that industry before you have to repeat the content. And I say that like we know we have a very specific strategy about reaching out, um, like kind of with basically newsletters every week. And so I try to provide fresh content every week. How long could I keep that going for that industry before I would need to repeat or revamp? And that would give me a perspective on, okay, how long do I have before I need to beef up what I know, or repurpose something, or get a little bit more creative. So I would I would say think about your strategy to talk to that industry first, and then work backwards.
That's a great point. I think sometimes we start so much about like I have this, or but yeah, you need to be able to, okay, how long can I talk about this before I sound fluffy, or people aren't going to think I'm credible anymore. And if this soup is too watered down, then maybe it's not going to taste good anymore. So fabulous point there. Any other questions, or else I'm going to wrap this session up, because I know a lot of us probably we are in the midst of event season, so we all are very busy with our days. No? Okay, going. You have 3 more minutes while I talk about next month, where we will be talking about what marketers have learned from the Partner Marketing Channel Group's Technology Marketing Benchmark and Trends Report. So if you haven't downloaded it yet, shame on you. I'm sure Michelle is going to put the link up in the chat, and please download it, read it, and then come to our next session where we're going to be talking about it. We're going to be talking about our insights. And for me, I like to use it as a, okay, how are other people using this? Or am I the only one struggling with this? Or am I spending enough or not enough? And tis budget season. So it's also good to have a look at what's going on there. So please join us next month, November 12th at 2 p.m. So same bat time, same bat place, and I will see you all again. And see you at communities for those who are going to be there. The CMA is going to be there, so come find us, or we will come find you, whichever one comes first. But we are happy to be a media sponsor at the event, so looking forward to sharing what we learn and see everybody live. And if you've missed a session, a good or bad excuse, all are welcome. You can go visit our website, and they are all there. So, or if maybe you've listened to one and you're like, hey, this would be good for someone else on my team, sharing is caring. So please don't be shy to share it with the community as well. So with that, be a sponsor. Any new ideas, please share them with us, join our community, and see you next month. Okay, thank you. Bye.